How would you like to improve your health and keep your family safe? You're listening to the Healthy Home Hacks Podcast, where we firmly believe enjoying optimal health shouldn't be a luxury. Healthy Home Authorities and husband and wife team Ron and Lisa will help you create a home environment that will level up your health. It's time to hear from the experts. Listen in on honest conversations and gain the best tips and advice. If you're ready to dive in and improve your well-being and increase your energy, you're in the right place. All right, here are your hosts, bowel biologists, authors, media darlings, vicarious vegans, and avocado aficionados, Ron and Lisa Barris.
I never had an acne problem growing up in junior high or high school. So when I set off to attend college, I decided to up my skincare regime. Rather than drugstore cleansers and moisturizers, I was going to start adulting. The latest skincare craze at the time was a very popular department store brand's 3-step process. Pretty packaging and easy instructions, all packaged up in a cute little shopping bag. What could go wrong? But as I started using the soap, the pink toner, and the yellow moisturizer each day, I noticed my skin getting worse, not better. My 17-year-old self was none the wiser, so I upped my usage in hopes of improvement. But my face had broken out so severely, it resembled something between acne and a rash. It covered my entire face. So when I returned home for summer break, a friend of my mom's blurted out when she saw me, "What on earth happened to your face?" Oh, needless to say, I turned an even brighter red than my already inflamed pomegranate shade skin. I was horrified. So off to the dermatologist's office I went. I was then prescribed Accutane by my dermatologist. And I never thought to question him because, well, he wore a white lab coat. I put my trust in someone who assumed the potential for an increased risk of birth defects, miscarriages, and premature births, inflammatory bowel disease, and suicidal tendencies was a good trade-off for clearer skin. However, I wasn't informed of the deal. So, for our listeners, have you ever gone through anything like this in your life? At what point do we say enough is enough? Why have we continued to allow corporations to put profits over people by allowing dangerous ingredients in our skincare and skin treatments? Why, in Europe, are 1,100 ingredients regulated or banned from skincare products, but in the US, only 11 are regulated? Someone who knows the answer to all of these questions are our very, very special guest today, a mother-daughter team of scientists and passionate entrepreneurs, Dr. Clarissa and Cameron Shetler.
Dr. Shetler's passion for marketing and science led her to create a safe and healthy skincare line called C2 Clean Beauty Inc. Earning a doctorate in pharmacy and working in numerous clinical settings, powered with her being a seasoned marketing strategy consultant, gave Dr. Shetler the skills to now run her award-winning eco-luxury skincare company with her scientist daughter, Cameron Shetler. Cameron's passion for applied science was ignited when she visited one of C2's sustainable ingredient sites in Italy, and she was inspired by the biochemist who gave her a tour. She graduates this December from NYU and will continue on to medical school. She is a huge part of the C2 Clean Beauty brand and a key contributor to product development. If this is not a mother and daughter team to be reckoned with, I don't know what is.
Welcome to the show,
Welcome.
both of you.
Yes.
Aw, thank you. We're so excited to be here.
Oh, thank you guys. It's so great to have you. And I'm so excited to talk. I know our listeners cannot wait. So let's just dive right in. A lot of people today are familiar with clean eating. But can you explain to our listeners what clean beauty and skincare, what does that mean?
So I think that a lot of people are still trying to understand what is our ways in our lifestyles that we can actually live healthier. And I know your audience definitely speaks to that truth. But the thing about clean beauty is really taking a look under the hood of all of our personal care, all the products we put on every single day, because a woman puts on about 170 ingredients just from all the different products we use, whether it's our shampoo, our face wash, our deodorant, our lotions, all of that accumulated together, we put on oodles of ingredients. And lots of times those ingredients aren't necessarily the healthiest type of ingredients that we should use. And so what we wanted to do is create a product line that basically has scrubbed out a lot of those naughty ingredients and focused in on ingredients that actually are plant-based, healthy, and we also look at the molecular size of the ingredient to make sure that it's going to pass through the pore and get to the lower layers of your skin where it's going to be activated. And so Clean Beauty in a nutshell is basically safe, healthy, and effective skincare.
Can you mention that again? You said
that.
molecular structure, so it has to be a particular size to be more effective with the cells?
No, not necessarily. So imagine your pore is a little hole, right? It's a tiny little opening, and each ingredient has a chemical structure. Every single ingredient in every one of your products has a chemical structure. If the chemical structure is too big, it won't pass through the pores and it will lay on top of the skin. For example, olive oil. Olive oil, everyone's like, oh my gosh, I love olive oil. I'm using it on my face. It's kind of like a clean, healthy product. Little do they know, olive oil is a really big chemical structure. So lots of times they'll put it on their skin, but you know what? It's not penetrating down, so you feel parched underneath, but you feel hydrated and moisture on top.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And you smell weird too. You're greasy and nothing's working.
You're slick. Yeah.
But what about, I know we're getting sidetracked here. What about like jojoba oil or coconut oil? Are they similar? Are they large too?
Coconut oil is a really large molecular structure. Jojoba isn't. It depends. And you can get different types. And sometimes one of the biochem that we align with who makes actual ingredients, he used enzymes to actually cleave some of those molecular structures. And Cameron actually is an expert on enzymes.
I'm not quite an expert, but that's definitely what got me more interested in the biochemist perspective on that. Just because, for example, one of our products, the dry oil, it's enzymatically cleaved olive oil. So we talked about how olive oil, it's a very large molecule. It's repeats of a lot of different smaller kinds of structures. So when you cleave that, it's the same ingredient, but it's more bioavailable for your scalp body and your skin, so that it's actually able to be absorbed into your skin instead of kind of creating that shiny layer on your skin that happens when you put a lot of oils on your body. So
okay, you're busting my bubble, because actually I use coconut oil, right? And so now the molecule is too
John's
large
been using coconut oil, so he shouldn't do that as a moisturizer.
Well, no, you can use coconut oil. It will moisturize. But if you feel dehydrated or parched underneath your skin and you need to bring moisture to the lower layers of your skin, because you have technically 7 layers to your skin, the top layer of your skin sloughs off in about 30 to 45 days. So the top of your skin is going to be new every month and a half. So,
wow.
And so what you do is you infuse the lower layers with nutrients, water, moisturizer to help the developmental stage.
So that's why for C2 we have this layering program where you start with a hyaluronic acid. It does have different molecular weights so that it is able to penetrate different layers of your skin, but that is a smaller molecule. So you are bringing that hydration into a deeper layer of your skin.
Oh,
and then after that, you're kind of sort of layering different sizes of molecules depending on what kind of layer you're trying to moisturize. So that's why sometimes if you put a moisturizer and then a serum on afterwards, that serum won't be able to get to your skin.
Oh, right.
To those lower layers of your skin, because that's blocked by, say, an oil or a cream that you use.
Would you say, I can remember using cheap moisturizers and you just don't quite feel, you're putting it on, it feels like it's not doing anything. And you're like, why am I still feeling dry? And it's just felt, sometimes they can also feel suffocating. Some of these cheapy moisturizers, obviously they have a lot of toxic ingredients in them too, but you kind of don't get that feeling like my skin's really ever getting that hydration, I guess. So
obviously you both are a dynamic mother and daughter team, but how did you get into the profession of clean personal care?
They're so cute. By the way, we're looking at them and they're
it's adorable.
They're so cute. Like, Cameron, can I adopt you? You're just the cutest little thing. I'm like, you're so smart. And I don't know how old you are, but I'm like, I was not talking about molecular enzymes at your age, I can guarantee. So very impressive.
I've been always on a skin quest because I had this really gnarly skin condition as a kid. It was called ichthyosis, and it's technically called fish scale or lizard skin.
Ooh.
And so my dermatologist, I actually read I read
Was
in a
it green?
clinical book. No, almost, but like people actually in a clinical book say that sometimes these people who have this condition are in circuses, and I mean, it was hysterical because they're like lizard lady or whatever. But so anyway, I had the skin condition.
Oh, geez.
And my dermatologist, because back then, a long time ago, really long, in the dark ages, they told me the only thing that I could really use is Crisco lard. And so what I did is, as a kid, I'd have this big, huge blue, gross container, and I'd have to slough that off, be changing my sheets but it was just kind of gross.
Wow.
And so I've always been looking.
Yeah, your skin looks, by the way, both of your skin looks great. And it's interesting because I had that horrible experience with the acne at such an awkward time in college, and I was so embarrassed, I mean, I know a lot of people listening, like if you're suffering from anything like that, it's humiliating, it's embarrassing, people trying to cover it up with makeup, and like, instead of like getting to the root of, people don't always look at what the ingredients are in their skincare as a source of causing the aggravation. And, I was put on that very toxic medication. And thank God, I became wiser, and now I use All Clean Beauty as well. But it's just to underline the importance of what you're putting on your skin. There's so much emphasis on what we eat, but what we put on our skin is so important. It's our largest organ.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So the average woman today, you mentioned this at the top, is using about 170 chemicals every day. Think about that, guys. That's times 365 days a year. So clearly making safe choices is so important today for not just women, but men too. So explain to our listeners why switching to healthy personal care is so important.
People don't realize that making the switch is actually pretty easy, and it's easy to incorporate these kind of changes. It's just that a lot of people need to be educated, because they're not, you don't know what you don't know until you realize, oh my gosh, I've been brought into the light. Just going through skincare and just changing your skincare isn't gonna drastically change everything. But what it is you want to take all these different aspects in your life, whether, start looking at your shampoo, look at your deodorant. Deodorants have aluminum hydroxide, which actually gets into your system, and there's no way to actually get those heavy metals out. Once they're in, they're kind of like with you until.
Amen. Thank you for bringing that up. It's such a passion of mine too, especially with 1 in 8 women today having breast cancer, and they're using these toxic deodorants, and they're clogging the pores with aluminum right by their lymph nodes, right by their breast, and all in the name of not sweating. And if we think about it, that's our way to detox, right? And
exactly.
We have to detox. We have to get those toxins out of our bodies. So a deodorant, do you guys have a deodorant or in your lineup? Are you planning to?
No, but what we do is we are aligning with other clean companies who share our vision. And a lot of those companies are actually affiliated with some of the third-party nonprofits that we're associated with, like the Environmental Working Group or Think Dirty, Circ Clean is another one, and Skin Safe. I mean, all of these different organizations. I think EWG is really the standard for the United States, and they kind of create the gold standard where, you can get a good basic safety factor.
Yeah.
They look at the ingredients, every single ingredient. And if you want to get verified and rated, you have to go through a very, very comprehensive audit through every single ingredient.
Yes. And you guys are verified, right? You are EWG verified.
Yeah, we are verified. Yeah, our brand is.
Yes, exactly. I think that's how we actually got introduced to you. People who aren't familiar with the Environmental Working Group, EWG, you definitely need to check them out, because it's interesting that we have to rely on these third-party nonprofit group of scientists, right, to give us this information and help us protect ourselves, because as we mentioned at the top of the show, the government's not doing that. These chemicals are legal and you can buy them anywhere and you can put them on your skin and that's okay. So unless you're doing your own homework and researching, you're going to get toxic exposure. So you have to, today's day and age, you have to be proactive.
EWG actually really helps you make those choices easier because the app allows you to download and look at different brands or look at very specific ingredients. So, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't, read your labels, but lots of times people are saying, okay, I'm reading the label when they can't remember all those thousands and hundreds of scary ingredients.
Right.
But EWG and Think Dirty and these apps, they actually are easy for, everyday consumers to walk in and say, what product is this? Or, can I check it out? And what's the toxicity level? So EWG does a heavy lifting.
So you can scan, you take your phone, you scan the code, and then boom, it'll give you the ingredients and the rating. It's so great.
So is it Skin Deep from EWG or is it just EWG? What's the app?
Right.
Skin Deep. Yeah.
Okay. It's Skin Deep.
Okay.
Skin Deep.
The Skin Deep database. And they have thousands. I don't even know what the number is, but thousands and thousands of products. I mean, you can pretty much search any product. And listeners, if you haven't been there, look up your products. You can get ready to be absolutely shocked, especially if you're using, department store brands or drugstore brands. You're going to be in for a rude awakening when you find out how toxic some of these products are.
Oh, you're right. So many cosmetic and personal care ingredient labels, they list a host of ingredients that people can't even pronounce. They don't recognize, and they clearly shouldn't be putting on their skin. Ladies, can you tell us what ingredients should we stay away from?
On our website, we have a list of the toxic 20, which are ingredients that you should just absolutely avoid. If you see any of those ingredients on your label, that's an immediate red flag, and you should put that product down. One ingredient, for example, is oxybenzone. We hear all the time, especially now, about reef-safe sunscreens. And, making sure that you're not putting a sunscreen agent on your skin that isn't doing its job by being a protective layer on your skin and instead being absorbed because it is small enough to be absorbed into your bloodstream. And that has all sorts of negative effects on your body where it could accumulate. And then there's a whole downstream processes that can elicit very negative responses in your body. Mm-hmm. So just on our website, there is that list of the toxic 20 ingredients, but
on the toxic 20 on c2cleanbeauty.com, people probably haven't heard of the oxybenzone, right? And among so many others. And Consumer Reports did some rating. I think it was on sunscreens, and they don't rate on chemicals. They rate on
isn't that crazy?
There's no chart for that. It's just, does it work, or how pretty is the bottle, or whatever they rate on.
Right.
And I remember I was writing an article on sunscreen, and they rated a couple brands. And when I went and researched them, I was like, these brands are getting a 6 and 7 hazard rating on the EWG. And they had these chemicals that you're talking about. And here's these healthy brands that barely were mentioned in the article. So a lot of consumers just don't, like you said, education. They need to know where to go and get this information.
So many brands right now, they do what we call greenwashing. So the labeling can say and sound, that they're healthy, they're botanical, they're made of natural ingredients. But then when you do a little bit deeper dive, they might not necessarily have all of the great ingredients that they claim to say. And like what you guys said earlier, the FDA isn't really regulating OTC or personal care products. So it's really buyer beware, and we have to be our own advocates for and conscientious consumers.
Well, Dr. Shetler, what are some examples you've seen of greenwashing out there? What are some of the tricks of the trade that have been out there? They're like, oh my goodness, this is definitely false.
Oh, there's a lot. Where do we start?
When they start saying all botanical, all natural, and and then the price is $2. The odds are pretty slim that they're going to be super plant-based and have chock full of healthy ingredients. Unfortunately, the big brands, they are churning out 100,000 units a day, and they don't necessarily have the bandwidth to put the brakes on, pull back, and say, all right, guys, guess what? We are going to reformulate, and we're going to redo this, because they're having the revenue stream, and so they don't have the time and sometimes even the bandwidth to be able to stop it. A lot of the formulations haven't been redone since the 50s.
Wow.
And
that's crazy.
But to speak in their behalf also is that every single person is different. Lisa, you said that you grew up having acne. Ron, you probably grew up, perfect and your skin looks gorgeous.
Oh my goodness. Well, thanks for saying that. That wasn't true, but thank you. I accept.
He was a child model.
But honestly, a lot of the products, though, they just don't have the time to redevelop them. But a lot of them, we all interact with the products differently. And so Ron may not get a reaction, but Lisa, you might. And because our pore sizes are different, that chemical structure may fit through your pore, Lisa, but guess what? Ron's, it doesn't. And so, and also the pH of your skin, there's all, our body's so complex and it's hard because every single person's going to be different and react differently.
And our toxic load, right? Like the current amount of toxins.
Exactly.
Which is getting higher and higher and higher for people. So this conversation's like more important now than ever. Okay. So greenwashing, really important, guys. Just to recap, like you see the green leaf, the bottle's green, it says natural, that word's not regulated. Those aren't regulated. Those are kind of like subliminal clues to make you think that the product is healthy. And without the third-party certifications or without scanning it or finding out what those ingredients are, because like Dr. Shetler said, look it up because you don't know. I mean, the average consumer can't read and comprehend what all those ingredients are. So we need to rely on these third-party sources or stick with a great brand like C2 Clean Beauty, and then you don't have to do all that hard work.
You don't have to worry.
Better.
We actually, on our website, we have a page called Brands We Love. And there we have, other brands that share our vision, whether
baby
it's
wipes and
baby wipes or perfume or... We're just trying to create like an eco,
kind of community of brands that have the same kind of vision and have that same kind of passion where you can go to like one brand and then be recommended, I am looking for this shampoo that I know, like I want a clean shampoo. So you can go and see, there's the shampoo, but there's also this whole list of different kind of personal care items that are safe to use and aren't going to infect you with all sorts of toxins and chemicals. So
yeah, for sure. I love that. You guys, that's very like green it forward, right? Greening it forward to there's room for
I love that.
Yeah, green it forward. There's room for everybody. There's room for, obviously there's a lot of successful toxic brands. There's plenty of room for lots of successful non-toxic brands. So speaking of, you mentioned baby. So if anyone listening who's pregnant, breastfeeding, has kids, what are some safe things that they can use?
When you're pregnant and you're going to become a mommy, you want to definitely stay away from a lot of medications and alcohol, all those things that are illicit that we know about. But people don't really realize your personal care can actually have an effect on you and have what we call teratogenic effects. In the medical world, we rate, the levels of teratogenicity of the product and how it affects the fetus in development.
Oh, wow.
People never really take a look at personal care, but this is a time to definitely go clean and green when you're pregnant. The other thing is breastfeeding. As we talked about molecular structures, once you put stuff on your body and you put it into, and the molecular size is small enough to get into the bloodstream, then that actually can affect the milk that you're producing when you're breastfeeding. So again, you want to try to stay as clean and green as possible so that you don't pass those toxicities on to your baby.
Right. That's so important. And we've talked about this before on the podcast that children are coming into the world today. Not you, Cameron. You didn't. The average, child has 287 chemicals already in their body when they're coming into the, being born today. That's probably even higher. That was based on the EWG's body burden study. So then, the toxic, they get put in a toxic nursery with toxic products. And then, like you said, all the toxic baby products, but not just the baby products, the baby washes and all of that, but what mommy is using and like the breastfeeding, the link to that. So it's like, it's all interconnected and we have to look at everything. And since we're talking about this, what do you say to people who say, oh, I want to do it, but it's just too expensive. It's too expensive.
Well, you know what? First, you find out, well, what's your major skin condition and what are your goals and what do you want to do? Because is, the safety of your child or the safety of yourself, how important is that to you? Because before, I would say 50 years ago, we didn't have a lot of these kind of disease states that we have, like our ADHD is running rampant and autism. I mean, a lot of these kind of disease states weren't necessarily that prevalent. Maybe they went undiagnosed, but we kind of attribute it to all the chemicals that are being put in our food and then all the chemicals that are being put in it. So it's, crap from the inside out and crap from the outside in.
Right. That's true. Air, water, food. It's like everything,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
This is a great segue. So is there a monitoring agency that kind of watches over formulations in general? Is there someone policing this?
No, it's the FDA is really set up to monitor pharmaceutical grade medications, and they monitor some OTC, but at the same time that still has to be a OTC that's medical grade. So a medical grade product is something like a sunscreen. So you have to actually create it in an FDA medical device lab. And so they'd have to adhere to a bunch of different regulations. So sunscreen is, as Cameron was saying, that's a huge controversial issue. And before, you guys live in sunny Southern California, so sunscreen's big. The thing is that all the synthetic sunscreens before were thought to not be penetrating the skin. And now they're discovering that they actually do penetrate. So the FDA is thinking about doing some more, clinical trials. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Now, does that have anything to do with the nanoparticles, or is that separate?
Nanoparticles are separate. So you can make there can be, you can make it nano or non-nano. Non-nano really pertains to more mineral, right,
Yeah,
Cameron?
mineral. Yeah, like the zinc oxide or the titanium. Like those kinds of sunscreens are where you really see the kind of the advertising of this is a non-nano zinc oxide sunscreen, for example. Like once there's a heavy metal in your body, it's not really going to come out. So you really want to make sure that when you're using, for example, as a mineral sunscreen, I know C2 we just do the zinc oxide sunscreens, that those are not non-nano, so that they do what they're supposed to do and act as a physical barrier against the sun.
Okay, so the zinc, that's what I use as zinc. Yeah, those are white, right? I mean, they're kind of tend to be a little chalky.
A little, yeah, we call it clown face.
Especially when you're tan, it's...
I know. You just got to get a little elbow grease in there and rub them in, right? I mean, but it's a good trade-off because you're not getting, like you said, the metals. You guys have both reiterated that it's really hard to get the metals out of your body once they get in there. That's kind of important because there's so many metals in our cosmetics and skincare today.
I have an off-the-topic question. So obviously personal care products are important for dry skin, but is there anything internally we can do, like eating certain types of oils or something to make sure that we're hydrated and we don't have dry skin?
Oh, yeah. In fact, we actually have a newsletter that's called Superfood, Tasty and Restorative, where we talk about, different foods that you can incorporate into your system. Or, we have one that's on chocolate and we have, another that's on asparagus. But we talk about... I
want to fix my skin now.
I want that newsletter. I can just see it. It's going to be his excuse now.
That's right. I know.
I'm fixing my skin. I know, exactly. But eating the less non-GMO vegetables is important. Water is super important, but also infusing an electrolyte water is really important as well, because lots of times you don't realize that you need to replenish the potassium, even some sodium into your water because you're sweating and sweating's great for your skin. So that's something that you don't want to necessarily prohibit, but you want to make sure that you're replenishing the nutrients. You want to feed your body and you also want to feed your skin as well.
I love that. I actually just got my blood tests back and found out everything was great, but I had low electrolytes. She's like, oh, your electrolytes are a little low. And I'm like, oh, wow, I drink so much water. But you're right. It's not just any water, right? You have to get those minerals in there. And do you have any good brand you recommend for electrolyte water? Or?
I mean, you can find it. They have it at Trader Joe's. I mean, the one that I actually really like is Smart Water, because Smart Water, you don't have to have anything flavored. It's, Gatorade was the sports drink that everybody, is familiar with. But then you get all that extra sugar, you get the food coloring, and
you're rounder and you have smooth skin, right? With the Gatorade.
I really like coconut water.
Oh,
just with coconut water, you also need to watch out for that sugar content. But I know my mom is not the biggest fan, but I really like it, especially after a workout, after I've been sweating for a while.
That's such a great tip, coconut water. I'm like you, Dr. Clarissa. don't love it, but Ron loves it. He loves the coconut water.
I do like it.
So
I was ready to throw away coconuts entirely because of the bursting of my bubble with coconut oil. But now I know the
Now you
bursting
can drink
is
it.
still
Just drink
good.
it. Don't put it on
I'm
your
still
skin.
going to cook with it too. So.
Yes, no, cooking with it and putting it on your hair and on your skin, it's still going to help moisturize your skin on top. It's not necessarily going to go below the surface. So on your body, it's good, you know.
We've used it in Hawaii a lot when we've gotten sunburns in the past. It's really good when you get a sunburn, right? Slather it on it. It works like amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody listening says, hey, both of you, I want to switch to healthier and safe products. What's the best way to go about? How should I start?
I think the first question to ask is, you know, who's going to be switching over? Is it my kids? Is it me? Is it our whole family? Or is there a way for, you know, and what do we want to focus in on? For our product line, you know, we focus in on conditions. You know, do you have dry skin? I'm looking to have more anti-aging, you know, or we're launching an acne line. So those, we're really kind of trying to solve solutions. But for a family who's looking for, you know, we're just trying to get healthier shampoos and we're trying to get, you know, lotions that are safe. I mean, I think the best way is to first stop at EWG and to look on EWG. We're talking to this one organization. They're called the W Marketplace, and they're going to be an Amazon kind of experience. They're bringing in tons and tons of vendors, but I connected them with EWG, and they're going to actually have an EW section on their website, you know, because actually EWG has been talking with Target, Walmart. They're like, can't we have an EWG section in our store, in your store, where we just put all these EWG products?
Yeah, if you want it.
Yeah, exactly. So then it just helps the shopper to be, you know, be more direct with their products. We were the first EWG brand to get into Macy's, and we proposed that to them, but they...
Wow, you're in Macy's?
But they didn't want to have an EWG section because we're probably the only one.
That's right.
They're like, we don't mind promoting the healthy brand. We just don't want anyone to know the other stuff is all bad.
Exactly.
That's the problem,
you know.
I think. It's just kind of like, let's silently slip it in there and people who know are going to figure it out. Like you said, some of these brands, you know, have probably been vendors forever, and they're just such behemoths that they haven't sort of caught up with, hey, we got to get on the ball and start changing things. And it's really, I want to tell listeners, support these smaller companies. It is so important because these are the guys that have always had your back. These are the companies that have done the extra research, spent the extra money, put in the quality ingredients. And I see this all the time, like, oh, all of a sudden now you see the big shampoo brand going, no parabens, no sulfates, no this, no that. Whereas like, oh, that was tight-lipped before. They wouldn't even acknowledge parabens in their product. And now they're promoting it, and that's good. But I really think it's so important to support the brands that did it right the first time, always really cared about your health. That's just my thing when that comes to cleaning products, personal care products, you name it. These guys need our support.
Absolutely. Hey, Dr. Shetler or Cameron, I know someone who has the small patch behind their left ear that's kind of itchy every once in a while, and he uses coconut oil to try to remedy that, but it's been going on for a few months. What can that person do to fix that problem? That person is me.
So it's...
Him and his coconut oil.
If it's just this little itchy spot, and you know, now I'm realizing coconut oil is not the magical cure. That may be, you know, I was just trying to release the dry patch, but it's a little itchy every once in a while.
So it does get itchy. So
yeah,
it doesn't
not all the time, but some days are worse than others, right?
Is it just in that one area? Do you have it in any other parts of your body?
Just that one area, and this guy that I know also tends to have a little bit of dandruff sometimes. I don't know who he is.
Well, I think it might be his hair product, but who knows? Anyway, this is Ron's personal.
I'm digressing here. I was just curious if there was any suggestion.
There are things, because it sounds to me like you might have a little bit of eczema. It might be it's just like a little bit of a, you know, dry, flaky patch, and then it comes and goes. And you're doing the right thing. You're actually moisturizing, because eczema and psoriasis, it's kind of like pain. You want to stay ahead of the dryness. But the products that you're using aren't necessarily going down to the lower parts of your skin layer. So what you're doing is you're hydrating the top, which has already been the damaged part. And so you need to go down to try to get to the parts where as it's in development, you feed it the nutrients and the moisture that it needs beforehand. We'll have that person reach out to us, and we'll definitely
I'll tell my friend. Yes,
take
thank you
care
for
of
that
him.
advice. Hopefully they're
funny.
listening.
What's funny is after you said that, I was like, oh, I'm a little itchy.
Right. I know. Like placebo. You're like, wait a minute.
You're not supposed to see that.
Okay,
Right?
so I know C2 Clean Beauty Skincare is focused on employing green chemistry. For anyone who's never heard of that, it's so cool. And it's what you guys use with plant-based ingredients and formulations that are both healthy for the user, but also for the planet. So what's the focus and approach for C2 Clean Beauty now and moving forward?
I think really what we're about is solving pain points. What are people having major issues with for their skin and their overall well-being? We were on this one market strategy call and they were saying, Clarissa, what's the one thing that is pushing you guys forward? How much money is it that you want to make? And I said, you know what? I'm actually not driven by the money. I'm actually driven by the emails that we receive from our customers who say, you have helped me so much. Oh my gosh, I couldn't use any other products before. I was breaking out in redness, rashes, bumps, and your product has actually made my skin look healthy and vibrant. And
Wow.
and those are the things that actually make us move forward and think of, what are things and pains and issues that people are going through. We know acne is a huge issue. It seems like every other person is dealing with acne or oily skin. And so we are going to be launching a clear skin product, but it's kind of cool. In our clinical trials, we've seen some really drastic changes in people's skin by just feeding them really healthy, good nutrients, and then scrubbing out all of the synthetic chemicals that were naughty for them.
I know that I definitely had several acne scars because I really suffered from acne in my late teens and throughout college. I'm still struggling with acne.
Oh, wow.
But what I found is that by using for example, the our apple stem cell serum, a lot of my acne scars over the I'm sure that they fade generally, but it doesn't even look like I have any acne scars as it was.
Wow.
So it's we're focusing on solutions, and if our products change just even a few people's lives with, being able to go outside with a confident face, that's what really matters to us.
Right. I mean, it's not a superficial thing to want to look good. It's how we project ourselves to the world. Our face is, our eyes are a window to our soul. It's how we communicate. And we need to feel good about that. We need to feel proud and not be embarrassed about, like you said, not just current acne, but the scars that it could leave and things like that. And I did notice that on your website that you guys were launching that. So that's fantastic. And when I had my acne in college and I was using that very toxic product, which now I know was so toxic, I was using it more and more and more. And I read, and I guess a lot of people who suffer with any skin problem, you think I'm just going to put more and more product on. But if the product's toxic, you're actually making the product worse and then probably drying out your skin, right?
Exactly. And people don't realize that less is more, actually. If you overwhelm your skin, there's going to be a point where it's just going to be it's not absorbing, it's just sitting on top, and you're just wasting your money, you're wasting your product. And then you're all those extra things on top of your skin. It's just not healthy. So lots of times you really don't need as much as you think you do.
That's a good point. And that goes back to investing in better quality skincare, using less, but using higher quality. I'd say that goes with, I was going to say food. I don't know. I find that with food, when you eat quality food, it's so much more satisfying. Honestly, you really don't eat as much when you eat more quality. I don't think, it's something in your body. You're you get more satiated. You're not getting all those chemicals and food coloring and sugars and things that constantly make you crave food and want to eat more. So quality over quantity for sure.
What can people do if they're on a real budget and they necessarily can't afford to buy some of these, more expensive or costly products is to use very basic ingredients, sometimes, buy a bar soap because an actual bar might have better ingredients than, some of all these other fancy liquid smelling soaps that have a ton of extra fragrances in it. And then oils, if you can't afford to buy a ton of certain types of oils, then, use things that are actually in your cabinet, like what you're doing. You're using coconut oil, which is right there. You can also use avocado,
jojoba.
Or just some of your cooking oils. try using those to actually moisturize your face and your skin.
Well, okay, I'll
I love
put
that.
on the point here. What would be better, avocado oil, coconut oil, or jojoba oil for your skin?
Jojoba.
Oh,
That's
really?
jojoba. I think
Oh,
is
okay.
And why is that?
I think jojoba oil is the same molecular size as the natural oils on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, coconut oil and olive oil, those are very large molecules, but sometimes the natural oil that your skin produces, it's around the same size as jojoba oil. So your body might recognize it as, oh, I'm not going to produce as much oil because I actually can feel that I have this kind of very similar oil on my skin already. So I know that sometimes don't overuse it, especially for acneic skin, but like a little bit of jojoba oil hopefully won't break you out. All skins are different, of course, but I would definitely recommend jojoba oil for the face
Jojoba
and
oil.
skin.
And you guys, do you use any synthetic fragrances in your product, or is it just a little, or do you not? No, none. Okay, I love that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Just,
I think fragrances they're really harmful for sensitive skin.
Yeah.
And can cause a lot of extra
reactions that we don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we are teaming up with Love Sylvie, the founder. We're going to be bringing this clean perfume line into the C2 family. And that'll happen in December and January. She created it as a seasonal thing because she has a different avenue to pursue. We decided that we're going to collaborate, and she's going to put all of her products on our site. So
I love
we'll have to get you guys some.
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of fun.
Yep. Going back to those endocrine disruptors, those hormone disrupting chemicals, the fragrances and the perfumes, and switching to a healthy perfume. Now you have a one-stop shop at C2 Clean Beauty where you can get all that. That's all I use is a natural perfume, and I love it. And I get compliments. People are like, "Ooh, what are you wearing?" I'm like, and they're not that expensive. Like you're paying at the department store for your, name brand Britney Spears or whatever.
I know.
That goes for men too.
Exactly. You're paying a lot of times, with the expensive fragrances, you're paying for all of their marketing and their branding.
Yeah, right. All the packaging. And so what's a good product that kind of would be good for everybody? I've used like squalene, which I love. And I know vitamin C. Yeah, squalene. And what's the one that begins with an H?
Hyaluronic?
Yeah, hyaluronic acid.
Yes, because in fact, I love it. You mentioned 2 ingredients that are actually endogenous ingredients in our body. So our body actually produces hyaluronic acid, and they're usually within in our joints and things like that. But as we get older, our production of hyaluronic acid actually decreases. And what hyaluronic does for the skin is that it's a humectant. So it gets into the skin, goes down to the lower layers, and then it penetrates inside the skin cell. And then what it does is it's like a magnet. It pulls water into the skin cell.
Oh, wow.
And gives your skin like a big drink of water. And that really helps with dehydrated skin. And so how it said, I laugh because hyaluronic products, they advertise on the plumping, your face will get plumper. It's because those skin cells are filling up with water. But really, it has a beneficial... it's a great thing because all of a sudden those skin cells are like, finally, I'm getting the water that I actually really need.
Wow.
The other ingredient you mentioned was squalene oil. And squalene is, when it's sourced from plants, we source from sugarcane or olives. But when you source from plants, you get another ingredient that mimics your natural oil flora, like similar with jojoba. But squalene, again, it's in our body. We create it in our joints and everything. And the products that we use it's a small molecular structure. So it really goes down and hydrates down into the lower levels of your skin.
Oh, thank you for explaining that. I have used those in the past and noticed, it just feels so good on your skin. And hey, ladies, you can save lots of money on fillers if you want plump skin, because our skin gets kind of like saggy as we get older. It's like we want plump. But when you're younger, you don't want plump anything. And then as you get older, you want to like fuller, because it's a youthful look. But that's really good to know. Just give your skin that hydration that it's not going to get from a topical moisturizer or whatever. So really good. Well, is there can you leave us with the taboo ingredient that everybody needs to avoid, 1 or 2 that just say, hey, look for look for this, or these are the things you should just not have?
There's so many ingredients, but I think the biggest thing that we can tell people to actually avoid are chemical sunscreens, because that's something that's so readily available and everybody is using it every day, whether it's in the summer or the winter for, reflection. I think if you can actually stay away from the synthetic sunscreens, I know it's fast to just spray on.
It's easy.
It's easy. But those are actually, I think, really probably the most harmful. Yeah, because they're harmful for our planet and they're also harmful for us as individuals. So the state of Hawaii banned
oxybenzone
and oxytrenate. I think they banned two. Yeah.
But besides
that's good.
So
because because the aquatic life is affected, right? It's like you're putting it on, you're going into the ocean or anywhere, and that's affecting them too. So, and everybody's so hung up. The reefs. Everyone's hung up on the SPF. Right? That's the thing that people look for. And, we want to change that mindset and say, stop with the SPF. Yes, you need that, but go into really looking for what you're actually putting on your largest organ, your skin. So important.
And SPF is a sun protecting factor, and the highest you really can get is 15. The higher number you go, whether it's 30 or 75, that just increases the wearability of it just a little bit, but you're actually not increasing your protection that much more. Not from 15 to 75. It's about the same, just a little bit of difference.
Really? Okay. So there's the greenwashing for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's some greenwashing, like paying extra for SPF 75 when you're really just getting the same thing in a 15, basically.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. Wow. All right. Well, you guys, this has been so informative and so fun. And we subscribe to your newsletter, and I did want to tell listeners, like, what I love about your newsletters is you guys, it's not just, pushing products constantly. You actually really educate the readers, and you do chemicals. So like every newsletter, they're going to go into oxybenzone and say, what is this? What does it do to you? I just love it. I've learned so much from you guys because you are scientists. You break down all those chemicals so that we are getting more comfortable when we look at an ingredient label and go, oh, I know what that is now. And I know I don't want it. So sign up for their newsletter.
The last thing we want to say is that, we're not going down without a fight, and we are going to go kicking and screaming, and we're going to try to do our best and do it the safest, the healthiest way. And like I said, we're all about education, and we just want to help you guys discover whether you use our products, look for something healthier.
Wow.
We just want to share the knowledge and the education.
Mm-hmm.
Changing the world one face at a time. I love it. You guys are so fun. Thank you so much for your passion, for your knowledge, and for being our fabulous guest today. To learn more about C2 Clean Beauty, visit them at www.cleanbeauty.com. And stay tuned next week to find out how to up-level your health and live your best life. We'll see you then.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
This episode of the Healthy Home Hacks podcast has ended, but be sure to subscribe for more healthy living strategies and tactics to help you create the healthy home you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best content. See you on the next episode.